Good morning, YouTube family. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Welcome to Escape from Crazytown. I'm gonna see if I can clean this lens a little bit. Seems a little smudgy to me. That might be a little better. All right, you guys. Hey, I'm so glad to have you here today. We have a great topic today because this just happened to me this week. But I will get into that in a few minutes. Obi-Wan, good to see you. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not popping up on your PC. Hope that you'll be able to fix that. Well, you guys. Okay, the big news is I got contacted by my ex-narc this week, and you know what? Everything went perfectly on my end, of course, right? For me. And I want to share that with you because I want you also to be prepared for when that should happen to you. Because if you're not prepared, you're going to possibly fall back into the trap and get hurt again, be used again, and then just lose your everything you've built up to this point. You'll lose it all again. And people will find themselves over and over again mixed up with the narcissist or narcissistic ex because they can't resist them, right? They can't say no. And the flood of good memories come back into their mind and they forget everything they have learned. They forget everything that they have seen, all the truth that has come out. And because it's so much easier to imagine a fantasy and want to live in the fantasy than to face reality. Except when your reality starts to become better than the fantasy, of course, right? But here's the deal. No fantasy is better than reality, simply because the fantasy doesn't last. It just doesn't. It's not based on any reality. It's not based on life. So it will fall apart. And the longer you stay inside of a fantasy, the worse the fall will be. So you guys, before I get into that, I just want to say good morning to you guys. Rissa Riss, good to see you. John Bale, good to see you. Yep, I got a text this morning from her which contained one dot. Yeah, that's what John said. Yeah, and sometimes that's what they do. Oh my goodness. Well, you guys, they will continue to contact you. And my advice is if they are continually contacting you, you may want to just go ahead and block them. But for most of us, I think that once you've been discarded or once you've done the discard, it doesn't seem like the narcissist is going to come back, right? It doesn't seem like they're going to, um, it seems like you've burned that bridge well enough that they know not to come back. But even with that, and I've heard stories over and over again how bad the bridge has been burned, and yet the narcissist comes back. Yeah, they do, because they get so desperate. And not only that, they forget. They totally forget their track record. They totally, uh, what is it? They just water down whatever it is that they did. So they don't think that whatever they did, it's so egregious that they should be shut out of your life. Like they just don't see that. They don't see how they could have done anything at all that would cause you to truly cut them out of your life. Anyway, you guys, let's get into happies and crappies. Oh, let me see. Obi says, my happy found a friend on Facebook I haven't seen for 8 years. I saw he was in a relationship. I brought it up and he explained his lady and I saved him. He explained it by showing him these channels. Oh, showed him these channels. Excellent, excellent. You know, exactly. Holy cow. I'm going through a situation right now. A new friend, so I don't know this person terribly well. So I don't, you don't want to just spurt out advice because you don't know the whole situation, etc. It's my case. I'm not talking about Obi-Wan's, who he's known this guy for a while, but I have a situation sort of like that where the son of this woman's adult son, he's in his early 20s, and apparently he's extremely abusive towards his mother to the point where she was sent to the hospital a couple of days ago. So she goes back home and she is completely fearful of her son, who is threatening, manipulative, violent, demanding, entitled. He feels like since he's her son, He's entitled to everything she has. He doesn't have to work for it. Um, so she needs to just hand over everything and not expect anything of him, not to contribute to the household, not to even clean up after himself or be responsible for his part of his living areas, right? So these are incredibly horrid people. And sadly for her, it's her own child. You know, some people will say, well, that's what you raised. But here's the deal. Even if you've raised a child like this, they are not your responsibility in adulthood. In adulthood, they are their own responsibility. They have a choice to make. And since they are no longer a child, you are no longer responsible for their well-being. But sadly for this woman, she feels responsible. That's the guilt. That's the compassion that I do want to get into as well. Because when the Hoover happens, your compassion kicks in. And you're going to feel like, oh, but they need me and they're down on their luck and bad things are happening to them and no one's there for them. And your compassion kicks in. Even though you know their abusive nature, even though you know how they treated you before, even and using this example about this woman, she knows exactly what her son is like. She knows how horrible he is and how violent and how hateful he is with her. And yet he guilts her, right? He uses that compassion that she has for just people generally, but especially for her own son, right? So he can guilt her into believing that he is the way he is because of her. He makes the choices he continues to make because of her. And she owes him because she hurt him in the past. He doesn't take any responsibility for any of his future and any of his present, right? Whatever he's doing right now. So on top of this, this is another manipulation, which I'm sure many of you have also faced with narcissists. He's been also threatening suicide. So, you know, because he does that, she feels even more responsible to let him continue to live in her house and abuse her. And I'm thinking, no, you are not responsible for him, even if he threatens that. That's on his own shoulders. And guess what? Narcissists don't do that, by the way. For the most part, I don't think, as you know, the books I've read, the psychologists I've listened to, seems to indicate that narcissists and psychopaths, they do not hurt themselves. Like they may superficially hurt themselves, but they'll claim they're going to take their life. They're going to claim all this baloney, and it's your fault if they do because you took all their hope and you took everything from them and you, whatever it is, right? They're going to blame other people. That's what narcissists do. They don't take responsibility for themselves ever. And it's insane because I've seen narcissists in their 60s and 70s still doing that, right? Oh my gosh. So here's this kid. He's in his early 20s, obviously a young adult. And she's, I guess, in her probably 50s. I don't know, maybe 40s. But she still feels like she's responsible for him. Now, can you imagine a 90-year-old being responsible for a 65-year-old? Well, guess what? There is such a thing happening. I know another situation where same thing. The mother feels like she's responsible for her, let me think how, her daughter who's in her 50s. So a 70-something-year-old mother feels responsible for a woman who is in her 50s. 50s, you guys. It never ends. So for this younger mother and her adult son, 20-something-year-old son, there is still hope. I mean, there's always hope. I want you guys to know that. There is always hope, even for the 70-year-old something mother who has a daughter who's still sponging off of her, still guilts her into, in convincing her that the mother's money belongs to her. It's insane. It's so horrid and toxic, and it disgusts me. It just absolutely disgusts me. But here's this other woman that I know about. I don't know her personally, but I know someone who's been asking for prayer for her, so I've been praying for her. But here's the deal. She has to decide at some point that it's not uncompassionate to say no. And we all kind of feel like, oh, but that's so harsh and that's so, not, what is it? It's inhumane, or, how can I be so cold to say no? It's not cold. And that's the deal, you guys. Oh my gosh. I am just flooded with all kinds of conversations I have had, memories of conversations I have had over this, with people who, and guess what? I'm a hugely compassionate person. I have done, and I'm not going to toot my own horn about, all the things I've done and helping the community and etc. But I have volunteered and helped so many different areas in my life: the homeless, the imprisoned, the hungry, the people who've been under addiction. I mean, I have gone out, and animals too. Shelters, everything. I've been there. I've been in the trenches. I've helped these people who've been hurt in their life and been in a position where they don't feel like they have any hope. Okay, I have been there with them. It's not about compassion. And actually, it is about compassion. Let me say this. Maybe the definition of compassion needs to be relearned or retaught, because compassion is not saying yes to everything. Saying yes to everything does not solve the problem. This is why I've also said being a parent is the hardest job, because you love your kids so much, you want to give them everything. You want to say yes to everything. But when you're a parent and you see your kid wants to do stuff that's only going to hurt them in the long run, they're going to love it right now. Like, let's say they want to overeat. They want to eat all the sweets and candies and junk food all day long, and they don't want to eat a single healthy thing ever, because all they want is, French fries and greasy burgers. And not that I don't enjoy French fry and burgers, I do. I love those. But every day, all day long, all day long, and they refuse to try anything healthy. Now, a parent can be like, oh, but at least they're eating, and I'll just give this to them because I really like it. And then you end up with a child who has all kinds of health problems, diabetes by the time they're 10 years old, and their obesity by the time they're 8 years old. It's insane. It's horrible. So saying yes is not compassion. Compassion is actually giving the person what they need, not what they want. So here we come back to our topic, which is the Hoover. When the narcissist hoovers you, it is not compassionate to let them back into your life. In fact, it's irresponsible to let them back into your life. And I'm going to talk to you about a trick that I had, because as I said in my description, if you guys read that for today's topic, I was surprised. I was really surprised when my ex-narc contacted me. Yet I wasn't really surprised, right? I mean, I kind of knew one day it may happen. So because of that, I prepared myself. And I want to teach you guys how to prepare yourself, because if it should happen, you do not want to be caught off guard. You do not want to be unprepared, because if you're unprepared, your compassion is going to kick in without boundaries. And I like that measure twice. Thank you for mentioning that. Compassion is boundaries. Actually, there can be compassion with boundaries, right? Compassion with boundaries, because it's not compassion when you have no boundaries. So what I did, you guys, this is so awesome. I want to give this to you right away, is the tip. And I don't know why I thought of this a long time ago. And it's in one of my videos. I don't even remember. It might have been cell phone tricks or something like that I mentioned. But one of the things I did was I relabeled two of the narcissists in my life that had been discarded. Or I don't know. I might have been the one discarded. They might have been the one. We kind of like, I don't know. It kind of blew up. Okay, let's just say that. So when that happened, and my eyes were open to what the heck narcissism was, I realized I don't want anything to do with these people. I don't want to be sympathetic to them anymore. Now, there's a thing such as, okay, if they needed blood, if they needed help in any way, an emergency, of course I would help. I'm not, heartless. Now, but if they want to go back into my life and start destroying me, no, thank you. No, thank you. Right? Or even if they are saying, how lonely they are or how much they miss our friendship. It's like, well, you know what? You can make other friendships. You can make other friends. You need to build those because this is off limits now. It has been breached to the point where I cannot trust you. And when there's no trust, there's no friendship, okay? There can be an acquaintanceship, I suppose. Like, maybe I'll drive you to an appointment or something, but there will be no friendship. Anyway, you guys, what I did was I relabeled them in my phone. Yeah, this is so awesome. Um, so this week when I got I got a text from my narcissistic ex, I was really surprised because it shows up under the name that I renamed him in my phone, and the name was Lying Ass. All right. When I saw a text from Lying Ass, I thought, wow, okay, that was so sobering. I'm like, why would a lying ass text me? No way. Am I even interested in responding to someone that I know is a lying ass, right? I'm sorry for, I don't think it's a curse because an ass is also a donkey. So lying donkey, why would I want to receive a call or a text or respond to someone that's named that in my phone? It just like, at first when I saw the text, I thought, aw, because my heart at first is like remembering the friendship we had, the relationship, the discussions, I guess, the connections I've had. And that's where your compassion comes in and blinds you to everything you have learned and healed from and the reality and the truth that you have now brought into your life will start to disappear because your compassion is, oh, someone from my past. And, who doesn't want to catch up with someone from their past, right? Who doesn't want to reconnect with someone you lost connection with, even if it was a bad fallout? And I'm all for forgiveness, by the way. I don't believe in these relationships where someone did one thing, like they forgot to invite you to a party, and now you're mortal enemies, right? You're like, oh, they forgot to invite you to this dinner party they were having, and now you never want to speak to your sister ever again, or your brother borrowed your favorite baseball bat without asking you, and now you will never talk to him again. That's ridiculous to me. That's ridiculous. But I'm talking about people who have hurt you, dragged you through the dirt, manipulated you, stole from you, cheated from you. I mean, abused you, just continual junk, right, that they did to you. You don't need to invite that back into your life. It's not compassionate to say yes to those people, all right? So here's the deal. I wanted to share with you a few other labels I had for these narcissists in my life. So the other narcissist in my life, apparently, I couldn't remember that I had put anything for her, and I have not heard from her. So I'm glad about that. I don't expect to hear from her. She's the covert narcissist. She's, I don't think we ever were friends. I thought we were friends. I thought that she cared about me. Now, that's the difference between a romantic relationship and a friendship. Because the friendship one, they never actually cared about you. The romantic one, they actually have a connection that I think is a little or a lot different than the friendship one. Although it depends, I haven't had a ton of romantic relationships with narcissists, just the one. But here's the deal. When you label these narcissists in your phone and they should call you or text you, and instead of seeing their name pop up and you see this label pop up, your reaction is not going to be, oh, come on back into my life. How are you doing? I want to know what's going on in your life. Your reaction is going to be, get away from me, you lying donkey, right? Or in the other covert narcissist, I called her and I looked it up because I was going to relabel her. because I was like, oh man, did I relabel her? Um, my husband was telling me I should relabel her sneaky backstabber. I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good label for her. Sneaky backstabber. Because that's what these covert narcissists are. They get into your life, they gain your trust, they build a relationship with you, and then they backstab you because they never cared about you to begin with. Their whole identity was wrapped up in how jealous they were of you and what they wanted from you. And the fact that you're such an awesome person or people are drawn to you, they wanted to be on the fringe to receive some of that for themselves. So they are users and abusers. They're not there for you, and they never were. So that's what my husband suggested that I put in my phone for her. So I go into my phone to look her up, and I'm like, wow, I can't find her. And turned out because I already relabeled her. And this is what I relabeled her. I relabeled her gossiping psycho. Yes. So if I ever get a text from gossiping psycho, I'm going to be like, holy cow, why would I want a gossiping psycho back in my life? No, no, thank you. And that's it. That'll be the end of that. It is so refreshing. It is so empowering, you guys. So today, that's my challenge to you. Go into your phones and relabel, even if you don't relabel entirely their name, because the one person I did relabel her name almost entirely. I left her first name in there, and that's the only reason I was able to identify, like, oh, that's the one. Um, so yeah, leave their first name or whatever you know would identify them for you, and then right next to their name or as their last name put in, and that's what I did. I did her first name, and then her last name was Gossiping Psycho. So, and by the way, I added to her profile in my phone because you have a nickname option. So in her nickname, I put what my husband recommended, which is Sneaky Backstabber. So this is what I'm going to see when or if she ever texts or calls. I'm going to see Gossiping Psycho Sneaky Backstabber. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want that kind of person in my life. And here's the deal. I do believe in second chances. I do believe that some people change. Actually, a lot of people change. But narcissists do not change. They just don't. They don't have the ability to have that empathy. Um, okay, I want to say I still hope, against all hope, that there is a possibility they can change. But here's the deal. You don't need to be the one to find out. All right? You do not need to be the one they exercise their horrible character on to see if they can change. All right? If they can change without you. They can change while they are away from you. And I've used this advice with people who are in abusive relationships, who believe that they need to be there, just like this woman who's got that 20-something-year-old son. They feel like they need to be there to help their narcissist change. And here's the deal. No, all you end up doing is you enable that narcissist because you haven't said no. You haven't given them the ultimate consequence of their actions, which is you cut them off. That's it. It's like, no, you don't get any more supply from me if you behave this way. And that's not uncompassionate. That is actually very compassionate. I want to go into that with you guys, why and how that's compassionate, because I've had that discussion with people. Oh, and I'll give you an example of the discussion, using that discussion, the example from there. But let me see how you guys are all doing. So glad to see you hopping on. Yeah, Obi-Wan says phony suicide threats. Yep, they are. And that's how they manipulate. And they want to say, you don't want that on your back, do you? On your head. And of course, as a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, what if they do? Then it'd be my fault. No, it's not your fault. It is not your fault. And sadly, a lot of people continue to blame themselves. Even people, whose fault it absolutely isn't. I know of other people who have had friends who committed suicide and they had nothing to do with it. And yet everybody carries around a little bit of guilt. Like, had I called them that day, had I picked up the phone when they called that day, Why was I too busy that I didn't notice that they were feeling down? Yeah, we tend to beat ourselves up regardless of whether we were responsible or not, because we like to think that we could have made a difference, right? You want to think that. And here's the deal. It's by chance, or some people believe it's by God. I believe it also both ways. Sometimes by chance, sometimes God putting you in the right place, or karma, I guess, if you want to think of it that way, putting you in the right place at the right time to save somebody. All right? But it is not your responsibility to chase them around continually, checking on them day by day, 2, 3 times a day to see how they're doing. It is not your responsibility. At some point, they need to learn how to stand and take responsibility for themselves. And if you keep taking responsibility for them, for their attitude or how they're feeling, if they're feeling good, if they're not feeling good, if their ego is pumped up, and it's all reliant on you, it's a huge burden. It's a giant, it's not just a huge burden, but you're not helping them to learn how to have self-esteem, right? How to build up their own self-esteem, how to learn to cope when they're feeling depressed. What tools can they use besides forcing other people to carry their burden? No, no, no. Once you learn tools to go to when you have depression or when you have self-doubt or low self-esteem or you're discouraged, that makes you feel empowered. That gives you strength. And when you take that strength or that option away from a person, you're not helping them. It's not compassion to take that away from somebody. All right, or take it so that they don't have to find a way to stand on their own feet. Well, you guys, let me see. I wanted to go back and see some more comments. Yeah. Obi says, these losers are so predictable, and my friend asked how I knew, so I showed him this channel, but his thinking is like mine. I needed to show him knowing the narcissist, and that channel hit home. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell people that want to, oh, man. Ooh, that's horrible. See, this is crazy to me that some of the comments that come through you would think would be flagged, but they're not. Not that I would flag them, but I'm just saying I would think YouTube would. But other comments come through and they get flagged by YouTube. Like if I say God bless you, for some reason that doesn't go through. I'm like, what the heck? That's crazy. But you can say all kinds of nasty, horrible things, and YouTube let that go through. And I'm like, are you serious? Yeah, it's rigged. Sorry, you guys. It just is. It's horrible and it's rigged. And don't base your morality on what YouTube allows or doesn't allow. Oh my gosh, this is. Anyway, we're not going to get into that today. Rissa says, do narcs always treat supply badly in devaluation? Mine seems to be happy and showing her off to everyone, even taking her to his son's graduation at his ex home. At his ex's home? This is not during devaluation, by the way. And I guess, devaluation happens a lot of times behind closed doors. So in front of other people, it's going to look like they're showing this person off. But behind closed doors, they're criticizing them and putting them down, and this person is not good enough to be seen with them. They're very controlling with the supply. But in front of others, they're going to want other people to envy them. So they want to make this look like this is the most wonderful relationship they've ever been in. And for whoever is watching, including you, right, including the ex, they want to convince you they've moved on and their life is perfect now. And it's not, because with narcissists, life is not perfect. It's all a mirage. And that's why I say it's so important to be prepared for the Hoover. Because when the Hoover happens, because it's not going to be expected, I don't know, maybe some cases people do expect it. So even if expected, or especially if it's expected, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared to resist it. And if you're not prepared, if nothing kicks, you don't have something in place that's automatic and will click in or snap into place when the narcissist calls or texts. I mean, ideally, you have a friend right next to you saying, oh my gosh, don't answer that, right? But even better than that, you have these mobile devices that can tell you, no, don't answer that. Warning, alert, alert, right? Danger. So you could do that, danger alert, gossiping psycho calling. So like, oh my gosh, no, don't answer that, right? Um, or lying donkey, oh my gosh, don't answer that. So that's how you have to prepare. That's how you can prepare for a sudden, and it's not quite an ambush, but it kind of is. It's an ambush of your feelings. Even if the narcissist isn't the one ambushing you, they just happen, they're just putting out a feeler to see, like, are you receptive? And they want to see if you'll respond. And your first thought might be like, oh, what's the harm in responding? They're texting me to say, hey, it's been a while, just thinking of you, or how are you doing? Something like that, right? And, or you were on my mind, and that's it. They just put it out. Or like John was saying, he just got a dot. And that dot might have been that she was thinking to write something, but ended up not, and deleting it, and then didn't realize she sent out the dot. They're waiting to see, even if it's by accident, they're waiting to see how you're going to respond. And if you do not prepare yourself with these warnings, with an alert, with a danger alert, you may, and most likely, I'm almost certain that we would respond and say, well, what's the harm? What's the harm in saying hello back? What's the harm in replying, I'm doing great? What's the harm in saying, I'm good, how are you? Part of it is you're opening this door, but you're also intrigued, and you have this flood, an ambush of feelings that you used to have for the narcissist. Even if it was a friend and not a lover, you might have these feelings of, oh, but we had so much fun together, or we had this connection, or we had all these laughs together, and there were some good times. Those feelings are going to come back in and ambush your senses of reality, your sense of reality, your sense of right, your sobriety. It's going to dull your senses, and you're going to fall for it. You're going to open this door wider and wider, and the narcissist is going to take that. They're going to take that opportunity. They're going to take advantage of that. So be so careful not to allow that. I know that many of us think, well, I can handle it, but let me compare this to an alcoholic, all right? Your addiction, my addiction, because we're human and we care about people, our addiction to narcissist is strong, okay? Because we don't believe in cutting people out. We don't believe in hurting someone. We feel like, oh my gosh, is that being unkind if I shut them out? When you do that, you allow yourself then, you're numbing your senses of reality and your sense of strength, okay? You're bringing down your own walls. You're bringing down your own foundation that you built on reality. So be so ever careful of that and not lose sight of who the narcissist really is. Another thing I want to talk about today is called labeling. And there's a reason why labeling is okay. Oh, it's so funny to me right now in today's world that, I remember watching this over the last, I guess, decade, where people are like, don't label me. Labeling is bad. Don't allow those, people to label you. And that was the big message. I remember seeing it all over, I don't know, on videos, on TV shows, on talk shows, all this stuff about labeling, all right? How labeling is so, so bad. And yet, there are people out there who are angry that they've been labeled or put in a box, and yet they label themselves. They'll say, I'm not even going to go into it, but they label themselves. And I'm like, why are you labeling yourself? Like, why do I need to know all this information that's generally kept private, by the way? Why do I need to know all this stuff about you before I even know who you are? Before I even know your name, I know all these labels about you. Why do people do that? Why do people walk around labeling themselves and then they were so mad that other people had labeled them? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolute crazy town out there, you guys. But there is a time when labeling is good. And the time for that is with your narcissistic ex or friends that have been horrible to you. You need to label them in your phone and in your text. And I'm not saying like label them in such a way that you condemn them or you hate them or you never forgive them. You can forgive them, but you need to have a label that warns you of what they are capable of. Because if you don't see that label right away, you're going to think this is just a person whose name is Bob or whose name is, well, I don't know. I was going to say Cassie, and you're thinking, well, that's not a harmful name. That's kind of a pleasant name. So why would I run from Bob? Why would I run from Cassie? You wouldn't, right? But you certainly would run from lying donkey and gossiping psycho. You're like, okay, I gotta run. And I'm not saying you have to share with everybody like, oh, this is what I call them. By the way, I didn't share that with anybody. I didn't need to, or maybe I did in my past videos anonymously, obviously, right? So I don't need to tell people this is this person and this is who they are to me. No, you don't need to do that. You don't need to drag their name through the dirt and gossip about them and all that business. But for yourself, it's okay to label them in your emails and phone and your devices, because when you get contacted by them, your compassion is going to be pricked. Your compassion is going to start falling into play, and that is going to mislead you. Eric, good to see you listening in Scotland. Oh my gosh, I was watching this show. What is it called? Still Kicking? I can't remember what it's called. But it's these two Scottish guys. I binge watched the whole series on Netflix. Just was hilarious. Oh my gosh, Obi. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go through some of these comments. Yeah, it's insane. All the threats people make about hurting themselves, and they do that to manipulate. And the heck with that, you guys. It's not heartless to say, well, you don't want to say do it, but you don't want to fall into it either. You don't want to say, oh, well, since you threatened that, let me do everything that you're demanding. It's blackmail. The heck with that. No, it's emotional blackmail when they do that. Yeah. Reactor D, good to see you. Hi, all listening in Bifra land. I don't know what that is. Very cool, though. Glad to have you. Yeah, that's cool. Obi says, an old neighbor narc tried to Hoover in another state. I only answered her questions with one-word answers and think she got the clue and left. Yeah. Oh, I was trying to tell you, some people who think, oh, I'll just, respond and, they might respond back and I'll respond. And, before you know it, you start falling into an exchange with them again, right? You start just discussing things with them. It's just suddenly you fall into this relationship again. And why I was comparing it to alcoholism is because that's why alcoholics don't even have a drink. Like, they know if they have one sip, it may lead to 15 others. So they don't start with the one. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing with narcissists, that you still have affection for, or you've forgiven, and you're like, well, maybe we can be friends, maybe we can have a relationship, just not to that extent anymore. Um, and it's possible. Now, I have a relationship with a relative. Now, I don't feel like, oh, I'm going to fall back into that, because there is such a big difference between romantic and just friendship or family. By the way, the romantic thing, if you've had a romantic relationship in any way with a narcissist, you have got to put barriers up. Because once you've crossed that barrier, there's no telling if you're going to cross it again. All right, you guys. Hypatia, good to see you. Says, the narc I was with never hoovered me. We broke up in April 2018, and he is still together with the new supply. I don't think he'll ever hoover, you guys. Hypatia, my my ex-narc got married within a few months, and has been married for a few years. And even then, and they know that I'm married, and they will still hoover. So I can kind of hear, I know like part of you might feel like, oh, I hope they hoover, I hope they call me, I hope, but please, that is where you are right now and you're feeling that way, relabel them in your phone. Relabel them in your phone, because when the time comes and when it does happen, you're not going to have those affectionate feelings come out when you see their name, lying donkey, or backstabbing cheater, or whatever, bad, nasty mouth, whatever you want to call them. So when that nasty mouth liar, when you see that pop up, you're not going to go, oh, that's right, that's that nasty mouth liar. You're like, no, you're going to go, ooh, nasty mouth liar, why, ooh, yuck. So you don't fall back in emotionally. Jihad, good to see you. Says, my week's been very good. Finally finished court last week and defeated my ex-narc. So I'm just moving on, growing and getting better. Yay! Obi-Wan, mine gave up on Hoovers when I slept with... Oh, come on, Obi. I don't talk about narcissists as if they're its, okay? I know you do, but I'm not going to. Yeah. But you know what? When you're in a point where you need to detach yourself, you can label them what you need to label them in order to detach yourself. And yeah, just don't get stuck there. Yeah. Hypatia says, I blocked him and I am disgusted with him. Just makes me wonder because he is truly a narc. Wonder, yeah. Here's the you can name him Disgusting Pig, So if you ever get a text or anything from Disgusting Pig, and I know you said you blocked him, but here's the deal. One day you might unblock him. And if you do, you'll be ready, right? You'll be ready to receive that. And I don't even know. Obi-Wan, what I'm thinking is, I did not block mine. I mean, I did for a while, but then I thought about it and I thought, well, what if they get a different number and try to contact me? Or what if, yeah. I'm trying to remember because it's been so many years what my thinking was back then. But I thought, you know what? I need to relabel this person in my phone for whatever reason. I've gotten different phones since then. And I thought, you know what? I want to know how I would react and if I ever heard from them again. And I don't want to react in like falling back into the horrible relationship, I want to react out of strength. I want to see that I can resist and that I can still stay sane and that I can be connected to reality, right? Not lose my sense of reality just because they reconnect with me. And I see it so many times, especially, or I don't know about especially, but lately I've seen a few different friendships with my friends and their friends, right? Where they've had to essentially disconnect with their friend. They're just like, oh my gosh, this person has had a really terrible track record with them. And they realize this person is not healthy for them. And I've sat down, talked to them, and it's taken years, by the way. Even with somebody who knows about narcissism, when the other person is not ready to hear it, when the other person is still doubtful and believes that their relationship is not a narcissistic one, when the other person just can't bring themselves to label the narcissist as a narcissist, they're not going to listen. They just aren't. But after a few years of being treated like a yo-yo, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and being manipulated, it's insane. I've seen this friend of mine apologize for nothing. I'm like, why are you bowing down so low to apologize to somebody you did nothing to? Because they are telling you how they feel. Oh my gosh, what is it? Their feelings were hurt because you didn't share some very private things with them. I'm like, well, your private, whatever you're going through, is not their responsibility. It's not your requirement to share with them. But she ended up apologizing to this girl about, oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't share this deepest, darkest thing that I was going through and I was really struggling with. I'm so sorry that I didn't share it with you. It's like, what? Why are you apologizing for that? That's how manipulative these horrible people are. They want to control you. They're toxic. They're jealous. They're gossipy. And here's the other deal. Oh my gosh, this other person. Huge gossip. Huge. I mean, you just see her light up when she has gossip to talk about other people. And it just makes my skin crawl, right? It just makes me cringe. Anyway, that's why I have Gossiping Psycho on my phone. I might even suggest that to my friend to put that in, Gossiping Psycho, on her phone in case she ever gets a call or a text from that old time friend of hers. Because if she does, she's not going to be like, oh, that's my old friend so and so, and we can reconnect. No, 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 no. You do not want to reconnect with a psycho gossiper, right? Riss says, I have a quick question. 3 weeks before the narc married, he passed by my house. Does that mean he was having second thoughts about the new supply, or he was already getting bored of her? Yeah, absolutely. I think both. I think that if they are passing by your house, dropping, walking past where you work, trying to see if they can get a glimpse of you, it's partly because they're still connected to you. They want to know if there's any feelings left for you, possibly, right? Interesting thing to me is the narc that I knew a long time ago, my ex, said, what is it? Said about one of his exes that he had no feelings left for her, which was a total lie, by the way. So they might feel like there's no feelings left for this person, and that's not really actually ever the case with a narcissist. They will always have feelings for you, and they want to see if they could resurrect those feelings with you. If you have moved on and your life is great and you're happy, they're not going to feel like they're going to be able to resurrect anything with you because you've moved on. You don't need them anymore. You're not still dependent on them for your happiness, right? Or for your well-being. So it's almost to ensure for them. Or they're driving by because they're being nostalgic, or they just want they want this or they want that. They want to have multiple supply if they could possibly have it. And they might test that out to see, like, can I keep this person on the side? And I've seen so many of those relationships where it's just mind-boggling, where the mistress feels like, Well, yeah, I knew he was never going to leave his wife. Or he left me to marry her, but then he has me on the side. I'm like, why? Why would you relegate your life to that? And now, because you're his side chick, how are you ever going to find your main love, right? How are you ever going to find a man who's going to be like, oh, it's okay with me if you're this guy's side chick? No, that's, don't do that to yourself. But that's what narcissists do. They want to see if they can do that. Yeah. Yeah. Krista says that she didn't see him, but her neighbors did and told her. And here's the deal, he may still be passing by your house. You don't know. And that's why, again, it's so important to label him in your phone in case he ever has the audacity or the courage, whichever, to text you or get back in contact with you. Then you'll know, oh my gosh, I'm in total control. And not only that, let me tell you something else. It is kind of satisfying, right, Rissa? It is satisfying to know that they are still pining for you a bit, right? Or that they are thinking about you. But you don't want to fall into the trap of believing that, oh, are they thinking about me because they actually care about me? They suddenly have changed. They have empathy now. They they can see my needs and they're concerned for me. No, that's not the case. They are thinking about you because they have needs, because they need supply. Probably the woman that he ended up marrying, Rissa, was giving him a hard time or wasn't falling for all of his junk, right? And was giving him some boundaries and requirements that he felt like, what the heck? I don't know if I want this. But then he drives by your place to see if maybe, is there any chance? And he entertains that. They're very calculating. Narcissists are very calculating. What if I get back together with this person? How would that look? Let me see if I can picture this. And they drive by and they might pine for you, but what they're really pining for is not you. They're pining for the supply that you gave them. Whatever the current supply is not giving them. So close the door on that. Don't allow that to affect you or make its way back into your life. Yeah. Hypatia says, or change your number. Yes, you can do that as well. Yeah. So, my main thing for people is no contact and move on. But a lot of times I know people can't move on. They want to know, right? They want to know that their ex is doing poorly. They want to know that their ex is still the same jerk and hasn't become this wonderful person they missed out on. They want to know. And I've told you guys, my viewers, many times, you may never know, right? You may never know. You have to know, and it has to be good enough to know in your head and know in your heart that the narcissist is just not going to change. That's why I give you guys so many examples of actual real people and their situations, because it just doesn't change. And once you start to see that it doesn't change for that person, it doesn't change for this person, it doesn't change for all these different people into their 60s and 70s, then you realize that your narc also is not going to change. Because we're taught from the beginning, right? We're taught about relationships, how relationships change, people change, the more you know. And yeah, it's not the case with narcissists. The more they know, they actually still don't change because they're still driven by the same self-centeredness. They're not enlightened. They're there for self-preservation. They're not there to help somebody else or they're not interested in a real relationship where there's back and forth giving, right? And they can do it, they can mimic, they can fake it for a while, but they ultimately don't see the point. They don't see the point of having to work in a relationship. That's the other hardest thing, by the way. So I've told you guys parenting is the hardest job in the world because it's so, and I'm not saying that there aren't other really hard jobs out there, But when it comes to compassion and feelings and emotions, oh my gosh, all of that gets pulled into parenting and being manipulated, for crying out loud, right? By these little manipulators. They don't know that they're manipulating. They just know, like, oh, if I cry louder, then mom gives me what I want. But unless you don't give it to them, right? Then they go, oh, it doesn't matter if I cry louder, I'm not going to get it. So then they learn not to do that. They learn to ask nicely, or they learn to wait or earn it. So that's the parenting part that's so hard, and you have to do it all the time and consistently, even when you're exhausted and hungry and tired and have had a long week and your car is broken down and you're heavily in debt. You still have to be consistent with your kids, just like you have to be consistent with the narcissist, because they will wear you down. They will. All right, you guys. Ah, yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing, it kind of gave me some closure. I will give you that, tell you that. It gave me some closure to know, oh, wow. I didn't even know this person was still in my town. Honestly, I thought they had moved. So I was like really surprised that, and maybe they moved and came back. I don't know. But I'm so glad that I never looked. I'm so glad that I never peeked, right? Like, oh, just to take one quick look, just to see. I cut everything out, right? I relabeled them in my phone, but everything else, I've unfriended, all that business. We're not connected in any way whatsoever. But then I thought, for some reason, I was about to delete the number, and I thought, you know what? No, I need to be reminded that if ever, let's say, and I know many of you have felt this way, tempted to reach out to them, right? Because at the beginning you feel like, oh, I'll just say hi, or I'll just see how they're doing and wish them well. And oh, I heard you're getting married, or I heard this and that. I hope they're doing okay. Just wishing you happy. Whatever it might be. You might be tempted to contact them. So why not leave them in your phone with a label that will completely disgust you, right? To the point where there's no way you're going to want to contact them. So say you leave them in your phone, and and you forget you even have them in your phone, and you type in their number to call them. Well, guess what? The label comes up. Yeah, even if you don't go looking in your directory, in your contacts, right? And you're just typing in the number that you found on Google for them. You type in that number in your phone, and their label will come up. And that will deter you. It'll smack you into consciousness again, right? It'll sober you up. And it absolutely sobered me up. I was shocked when I saw the text. I was like, whoa, what? And then I saw the label, and I was like, what? No, 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 no. Oh my gosh. I mean, so many things are going on in my head, but the label saved me. The label kept me in reality and kept me sober. That everything that happened was a lie. Everything that was said was a lie. I was manipulated. I'm not trying to play the victim here, by the way, but I needed to know that this person is not contacting me out of goodwill, right? This person is not contacting me to make sure I'm doing okay, or to be a benefit or a positive in my life. This person will only bring negativity and destruction into my life. And not that I wish them ill. I'm like, I do pray that they do well. I prayed this for both of these narcissists that have been in my life. I do pray that one day they wake up. I pray that one day they somehow come to realize and find strength in their own character, right? Find strength in trying to build their character and learn from their mistakes. And I don't know, I don't know what it is they need, that connection in their brain that they don't have for compassion or empathy, for the right things. Yeah. And that's another video, by the way, that I made. And I may put it in for you guys up here in the little eye icon. That's Do Narcissists have empathy. And I do explain they do, but they have it for the wrong people. Absolutely crazy town, the people they have empathy for. They have empathy for other narcissists because they see themselves in it, right? They see themselves in these other narcs. So they have empathy for that. And that's really horrid. Horrid. I'm I know I sound like such a terrible person to say that's horrid to have empathy. But no, I'm talking about they have empathy for people who are lying, cheating, destructive, evil people. And you're like, oh, what? And then they have no empathy for the victims of these people. And you're just like, what? How do you have no empathy for the victim, but you have empathy for the perpetrator? You know, can you step back for a moment and think about the victim? And anyway, incredible. Wow. Yeah. Hypatia said that she had lived with her, I'm assuming it's, yeah, um, lived with her narcissist for 7+ years, the longest he's ever had. You know what? You know, I've also done a video called Does the Narcissist Remember You or the Narcissist Never Forgets You? That's the thing where I feel like I learned so much by having narcissists in my life that I've in like an emotionally intimate way because I got to hear their real feelings about things and their thoughts and their what they think about with their exes. And I'm just like, wow, okay, you know, I wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't have thought this way. And I share a lot of that in my different videos. So if you watch my other shorter videos, you'll see and hear about what goes on in the inner thinking of a narcissist. And that's why you have to have a stop fail or fail. What did they call that? Something that will stop you from falling back in with the narcissist. Well, you guys, says, okay, Sherry, good to see you. Good to see you. Says, I work with my narc ex. After our divorce, he immediately started love bombing a few lady coworkers. I was so hurt. Any advice for me on how I can move on? Oh, okay. Yeah, you have to just not look. You know, I know it's going to be really hard, and you have to keep yourself. Oh, here's the best thing, by the way. And it's so simple. There are like two or three go-to things that I say, and they work. By the way, you make a list. Sherry, make a list of all the things that this narcissist has done to you, the lies they have told you, the lies you caught them in, right? The insanity, the gaslighting, you know, that they would not give up on. You know, they refuse to admit, or they try to make you feel like you're crazy for even doubting, okay? Make a list, an actual list of these horrible experiences you had with the narcissist. If it's on your phone and your tech, you know, you just love everything on your phone, make a list on your phone so you can pull it up. I'm more of a paper person, at least I have been when this all started for me. So I would make a list on a piece of paper. And anytime I had any feelings of longing or any feelings of compassion towards or any feelings of sympathy towards these narcissists in my life that just nearly destroyed me, I took a look at the list and it woke me up. Like, why am I longing for this to be back in my life? I'm not. I'm not longing for this to be back in my life. And so when you see this happening in your office, your coworkers, right? You can look at your list and it'll sober you right up. And you just go, wow. You shake your head and you go, wow, I hope they don't fall for it because it's a trap. It's a huge trap. So make that list, and every time you start to feel hurt, every time you feel like this is another dagger that they're trying to put into you by making you jealous, because they do triangulate, by the way, when they do that, and when you start to feel hurt, when you start to feel like you're missing out, when you start to feel jealous, right? You look at your list, and that jealousy will fade to nothing. In fact, you'll be disgusted. You'll be like, ooh, how can I possibly be jealous of that? Because I know this part is just a facade. Here's the reality, and you look at your list. Here's the reality of this person and what they have actually done. So all this nice stuff that they're doing right now, all this fake stuff that they're doing to catch the supply is not reality. It's all a facade. It'll wake you up. Yeah. Oh, and that's a good point. He says, if he's love bombing other chicks, he's leaving you alone. These coworkers will find out in time. I say ignore and make that money and live your life. Yep, absolutely. Totally agree with that. And, you know, and in the midst of you longing and wishing for the attention that he's giving other women, in the midst of that, it's hard to say, oh, I just don't care. It's hard to just on your own, without any help, right? Without any mental or physical things you've put in place. It's hard for you to ignore. So that's why I say make this list. It's something tangible. It's something that you can do right in the midst and in that moment. So if it's on your phone, that might be better, because you bring up your list, and when you see this love bombing happening right in front of your eyes, and you start to feel this twinge of jealousy or longing, or some kind of attachment back with the narcissist, like you wish they were doing this for you, look at the list, and that will snap you back into reality and go, holy cow, I forgot about that time he cheated on me. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that time he called me the B word. Oh my gosh, he also called me these other words. Oh my gosh, yeah, he also told all his friends about something that I did that was really embarrassing, or, you know, whatever it was. He told your innermost secrets to somebody. You couldn't trust him. Write this down on your list. You don't have to be fully detailed in the list, but make it enough that you recognize it and you remember what he actually did. And when you look at that list, and it doesn't matter how many roses he sends to the coworker, it won't matter how he's standing at their desk and you know, telling jokes and being charming, if you will, you're going to see this as all disgusting behavior. Yeah. Just like the same thing happened to me with the phone. When I saw the text, my first instinct was, aw, you know, I hope they're doing okay. And then I looked at the label again, and I was like, holy cow. Oh, no. It was sobering. It was a slap in the face, wake up call. Like, ooh, who are you being sympathetic towards? Remember, you don't want this in your life. Oh, yeah, that's right, I don't. And I was not tempted at all to respond. I was not tempted at all to go fall back into any kind of interaction with this person. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Obi-Wan says, just laugh at his predictable behavior. Yeah. And it takes time to get there, but I tell you what, that list will sober you up real quick. And you get there so much faster if you have that list. You get there really fast. I have viewers who've written in, lots of viewers who've written in asking about that exactly, because they do pine for their narcissistic ex. They are still going through the grieving process of letting go of the fake future, right? The future faking that was done. They're letting go of what they thought their life was going to be. And it hurts. And I know that they wish they could get it back. And some part of them that's lying to them is telling them they can have it back. And so they think, what can they're racking their brain. What can I do to get back with this narcissist? What can I do to recover this fake future I thought I was going to have? And you're never going to have it. It was fake to begin with. It's like trying to capture a cloud. You're not going to be able to capture it. It was an illusion. It was never meant to be um, your future. And actually, your future with that person, by the way. And it doesn't mean like you can't have a beautiful future. You can. You absolutely can have a beautiful future. I'm living my present right now is amazing. And that's why I want this for you guys. You can't, I'm not saying like my relationship with my husband is perfect and ridiculous, by the way, if you think that you can have a perfect relationship, but you can have a beautiful relationship. And part of the beautiful relationship is that, um, not just part of it. I want to say that what makes it a beautiful relationship, by the way, is that we put each other first. I'm not saying all the time. Yeah, there are times that my husband needs to put work first, and I totally understand that. And there are times where I know he needs to hang out with the guys, and I know that there are times that he needs to have for himself. But because I love him, I need to give him that time. I put that first. But, and then there are times where I need to spend time with him, and I let him know. So he knows, oh, yes, I need to spend time so that we can connect or reconnect and build on our friendship and our relationship and our romantic side, right, of our relationship. It's amazing. It's really, really awesome. So you guys, you can have that. You can have that future that you thought was fake, right, with the narcissist. But it can be real, a reality with a real person, just not with a narcissist. Because narcissists cannot have that kind of a relationship. It's not a give or take or give and take. It's a business contract with the narcissist. It's very cold, and they're always going to want the upper hand. They want to be in control, and they're self-centered. So they're not going to be able to see or have empathy for you when you're going through a hard time. They're going to feel that their needs are not met when you're having a hard time and you're unable to meet their needs. That's what they're going to see. Whereas in a relationship that's healthy, even if you're in need, you're going to still see the needs of somebody else. You're going to still see your partner's need. You're still going to have sympathy and empathy for them. You're not going to want to hurt them. Narcissists don't care that they hurt the people they supposedly love, right? So one minute they're telling you they love you, another minute you're like the worst thing in their life and they blame you for everything. That is not a relationship. That's a horror movie. And you don't want any part of that in your future. That's the fake future. You know, these people try to make you believe that you can have some Disney World princess ending with them when in reality it's a horror show, and you don't want that fake future because it turns into a horror show. What you want is a real future with a real person. So anyway, you guys, I kind of went on that for a while. I'm trying to get through some of these other comments. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad. Sherry says, I will write that list. Thank you. Yes. And let me know how that works, by the way, because I really do think that the list helps so much. You have no idea until you are going through it, right? And you pull out that list, and it just is like not a hard, horrible, abusive slap in the face, but it's almost like a cold shower or a refreshing shower that just wakes up your senses. And once your senses are awake, you'll be able to recognize that, oh, there goes one of my neighbors. How about that? You'll be able to recognize the lies and the false narratives that you've been believing, right? You'll be able to wake up from it. Your heart will not be entangled. Your emotions aren't going to be pulled back into a lie. Yeah. Well, you guys, gaming art. Oh, yeah. Hi, guys. It's Mo. It's good to see you, Mo. Yeah. Oh, I had a few other things I wanted to talk to you guys about. You know, what? Here's another thing you need to remember about narcissists. They are insatiable. So when you think, oh, if I stay with a narcissist, if I just do what they ask me to do, if I give into their threats of self harm this time, right, they'll know that I care about them and they won't do it again. And I can always point back to, remember when you needed me to do this and I did that for you? It won't matter. It won't matter in the future because the narcissist does not live off of past deeds, right? They don't give you points for what you've done in the past for them. They are insatiable. And that's why when it comes also to narcissists that remain in your life and are continually abusive in your life, I say to cut them out. That it's not unkind, all right, to cut them out because they're abusive and they have not learned that that abuse is not acceptable. The way they learn that their behavior is unacceptable, is if there are consequences. And if you don't allow the natural consequences to happen in your relationship and you make up for their shortcomings and you give them excuses and you think, oh, but they're not as strong as I am, or they're having a harder time than I am, so that's why I'm willing to give them. I understand that for a period of time or a short moment, but when it's that way, your entire relationship, you need to cut things out. You need to cut them off because all they're doing is draining you. They are insatiable. There is never going to be enough that you can do. I know. I look at these people that I know, who, like I said, someone that I just met recently who's asking for prayer for her friend who's a mom and of an adult now, an adult male in his early 20s, who is abusing her physically. So you can imagine also mentally, he's abusing her. And she's still allowing him to stay in her house. She's still allowing him to sponge off of her because she obviously, to him, is the reason for all of the bad things that happen in his life. Has nothing to do with the choices he's made. But then I give you an example also of someone who's in her 50s and she's still sponging off of her mom who's in her 70s. And I'm like, really? When does it end? When does it end? It doesn't, you guys. As long as you are willing to be the supply for the narcissist, they will take from you. And not only will they take from you, they will be emboldened to take more from you. And not only that, they will stand in the way of you having access to your own wealth, to your own finances, because they feel that they are more entitled to your finances than you are. That's how psycho they are. They actually will believe that the one or two little things they've done for you, like say pick you up at the airport, come on, or came by to wish you a happy Mother's Day, got you a card once, maybe even bought you some flowers once. Now your whole estate is theirs, right? They believe that you should not travel or enjoy yourself or take yourself out to beautiful lunches with your friends, or you're in your retirement years, and how dare you use your own money to fix up your home or to buy yourself the car you've always wanted. That money belongs to them. They are insatiable and they will come down hard. The older you get, the more frail you become, they will take advantage of that. So be so ever careful about ever letting a narcissist back into your life without boundaries. Now, each of these women, each of these mothers have an option. They can have boundaries with a narcissist. Like I have boundaries with the family narcissist that's in my life. And there's no way I can have a relationship with this person without these boundaries. If they should cross these boundaries, like say they're disrespectful towards me, use a tone, even a tone towards me. Nope, I'm out. I'm gone. The conversation is over. We do not need to go into you being belligerent with me or condemning or critical and name calling. Off the table, completely off the table. No name calling. Accusations, no accusations. If you want to have a pleasant conversation where we just talk about the niceties of life, and that's pretty much all you can do with a narcissist, by the way, that's it. That's where our relationship is. And that's fine. And you can care about narcissists in your life because that they are just not walking amongst the living. They just aren't. They're walking in this bizarro world, land that they live in, and they're not plugged into reality, and they don't understand why their friends keep falling away from them, and they don't understand why people are mad at them, and they don't understand why bad things keep happening to them. And you feel sorry for them. I get that. I'm there, with the narcissist that I still have in my life. I'm trying to think. It's just really one narcissist that's still in my life. And the reason for that is because I have compassion for this person, but they know not to cross these lines. There's no what is it? Room for changing these boundaries. Like, no. These are just boundaries of respect. And of course, I'm respectful back towards them. I'm not a jerk towards them, okay? I don't lose my mind and blame them for all the things that have happened in my life and go on and on about how they owe me an apology or no. I know that's not even necessary for us to have the relationship we have. Okay, you guys. The reason for why I don't need an apology from them is because I am complete and whole regardless of what they do. You never ever want to be dependent on a narcissist for an apology, to make up for anything they've ever done to you, even for financial restitution. You do not want that from a narcissist in order for you to move on. You need to learn to move on without that, because if you are dependent on a narcissist for any of that, then you are putting yourself in a position where they can control you, or you put yourself or your victimhood status above your independent status. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to give more power to victimhood than to independence. You want to be independent from the narcissist. So you guys, I hope that has helped you some today. Let me see here. Oh, hey, Pacia says, can you talk about narcs and single moms? The new supply is a single mom. Oh my gosh, yeah, I can talk about that. The new supply is a single mom of a 5-year-old. I imagine that has to be a problem sometimes because she has to take care of the needs of her daughter. Absolutely, you guys. I don't know why narcissists even do this. Well, actually, I do. Narcissists love, some of them love to have children there to adore them and to give them extra attention. So single parents for the narcissist sometimes means extra people to give them supply. So I can see how a narcissist goes into a relationship with a single parent, and when the parent isn't giving them the attention they need, their kids will, right? The single mom's kids will. And the narcissist will play up to that kid because they don't see them all the time, especially if they're dating. They can be this superhero to the kid, and the kid's gonna be like, you're my best friend, and I love you more than I love my own dad or my own mom, And oh my gosh, I've had a narcissist tell me how the woman he was dating, he dated, oh my gosh, so many single parents. And he got a kick out of it. He really got a kick out of the attention he got from the kids. And he had told me that I can't even call them his girlfriend. They're just his supply. But they saw themselves as his girlfriend. But he had multiple girlfriends. So I'm like, I don't know. Well, you're not exclusive, so I don't know what to say. So I had this friend who would talk about his even current supply and how the current supply was jealous of the relationship he had with her daughter, with her little kid. Like, I think the kid was 3 or 4 years old at the time. And that little kid is like, you're my best friend, and I love you more than my real dad. And of course, because the narcissist can play the hero and the fun person and the exciting, playful adult, right, for a short time. But once they get married to the single mom, right, once they get married to someone who has little kids, they are going to see that children are not just there to serve you. Children need to be taken care of. And not only that, you made a very good point, by the way, because the daughter is going to need attention and care from her mother. So the narcissist is going to have to compete with the mother for attention. Yeah, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well for any of them, sadly, for the kid. And then I try to tell single moms not to jump into a relationship right away. And yeah, to be very careful of that as well. Because you're going to bring trauma onto yourself, but then also to your kid. Yeah, I like that, Obi. Obi says, I just call narcs out on their behavior right when it happens and say, don't do that. And they usually quit. Yes, right? It's like a child. It's just like raising a child. People think, oh, you can't call someone out. Yes, you can. You can be very direct. It's not being mean to be direct. Why do you have to beat around the bush and say, oh, that's not the nicest thing you could say? Or, oh, can you not do it that way? Oh, no. Just say, hey, no, I don't accept that. Don't talk with that tone. Just the other day, I was listening to a friend's daughter using this really horrible tone with her mother. It was a tone like, you're an idiot, And I'm thinking, why? I know that she's let her daughter do this for many, many years. And now, of course, the daughter is an adult and still does it and doesn't, I don't think the daughter understands she does it. And I think she gets it from her dad. I can almost guarantee she gets it from her dad because her mother is not like this. Her mother doesn't talk like this, but her dad does. Talks down to people. Everybody's an idiot. And not only that, I think he sometimes talks to the mother like that. So I think the daughter learned to talk to the mother like that. And I just kind of feel like, you know what? If you just tell your kid, and I didn't say this to her because it's between them, I think I did try to mention it to her a few years ago when I pointed that out, and she just said, "Oh, that's just the way she talks." I'm like, "Okay, that's all you can do. You cannot force that. If this is your friend, they have to make choices for themselves." But all that you have to do when you catch and they may not even be a narcissist, by the way, just someone who's being toxic with you, just say, "Hey, I don't accept that. You don't need to talk to me in that tone. I'm not an idiot." And they might like lose their brain and lose their mind and go crazy on you. Blah, blah, I didn't, and just whatever. Just walk away. Or they might be like, oh, I didn't know I did that. I'm sorry. And then there you go. It's cut off. So you guys, either way, you end it. You don't allow and accept their behavior and their destructive behavior towards you. Yeah. Gaming Art or Mo says, I'm at the point when I can call out a narc's toxicity, but that came with healing, not in the beginning. Took almost 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Obi says, I can go on for hours of this predictable behavior and introduce all my empath friends, and we're all healed. Yes. Obi, Thursday is my Sunday now. Your Sabbath. Yeah, day of rest and healing. Yeah. You guys, I'm so glad that you came on, that you found this channel. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't watched a video, or not a video, but yeah, definitely watch my videos. But if you haven't watched a commercial once in a while, please watch one. If you can only watch 30 seconds of, some of them are like 15 or 30, or I've had commercials that were 55 minutes long. And I'm like, what the heck? But watch 30 seconds of it at least. And I do that for all the other channels I subscribe to and support because I want them to earn something. We get all of this for free. And so in a way to help them out, I watch commercials for them. And I would ask that you do the same for me. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys showing up. I hope that today's message helped you label that person. And don't feel bad about labeling them, by the way. Label them on your phone. I'm not saying go out there and call them these names to their face. Just label it on your phone so that when they contact you, you are smacked back into reality. You are pulled away and out of the cloud of fantasy and longing and whatever it is that you have for them, right? Any feelings that you had for them, you're pulled back into reality. Like, oh my gosh, they did all this stuff to me. And for those of you who may have missed it, make a list. If you're in the midst of going through the detachment phase and you're having a hard time detaching from the narcissist, make a list of all the things they did to you so that when you see them trying to triangulate you with others, right, with their new supply, when you see them love bombing somebody else, when you see them paying attention to someone else and being charming to somebody else, you take a look at that list and you, instead of feeling jealous, you're going to feel disgusted and relieved. You're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm away from that. I've escaped. I am not in Crazytown anymore. And you feel sorry for the person who might be falling under their spell. You're like, oh, so glad I'm not there. So you guys, I am so glad that you made it. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds here to wrap up your conversations and say goodbye, maybe another minute or so. And I'm going to just check and make sure, because when throughout the week, I could do a live stream almost every day or every other day because things come to my mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to share this with my audience. But I don't know, that would be too annoying to you guys. But here we go. Yeah. So I take notes and sometimes I put them on all these different pieces of paper all around the place. And then I collect them up and then I want to share them with you. Just little nuggets that the narcissist will spark your compassion. They know, oh, you know they're doing badly when they contact you. So you're going to feel compassion towards them, right? I mean, because you're a person, you have a heart. And that's what they count on. They count on the fact that you're going to have compassion on them. And then they count on the fact that they can guilt you into taking them back into your life. But you have to be careful because you do not need, compassion doesn't mean to enable this person. Compassion doesn't mean that you need to then make yourself reliant on them again. In fact, that's just extremely irresponsible of your own life when you do that. So be careful of that. Well, you guys, I hope that you had a great time today and found some sanity, right? This is our hour and a half of sanity because there's so much insanity going on out there. If you're watching stuff and hearing things that just doesn't add up, by the way, I want you to step back and see if you can find alternative information. I want you to step back and see if maybe I need to look at a different perspective. And then, I can't even begin with this. But once you see reality, it's so refreshing. Sometimes it's really scary. Sometimes you're like, oh no, that's terrible. The reality is very dark and grim and blah. But what's worse is staying inside of a fantasy, right? Staying inside of a fake world, staying inside of Crazytown. That is far worse because it will all come crashing down. It doesn't make sense. The information is contradictory. People aren't behaving morally. Up is down, down is up, right is wrong, wrong is right. That's Crazytown. So in order to find sanity, find different information or sources of information until you find reality. And it's a crazy world out there right now, by the way, you guys. So blessings to you. Protect yourself. Take care of yourself. Yeah. Love you guys. And I'll talk to you soon. And I'll see you next week. I'm sorry, I was just reading the last comment that Obi said here. Take care, friends. It started me watching her video, but was wondering why I can't get involved with the chat. And Escape from Crazytown told me what day to come on, and I respected that. Oh, I don't understand. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that you're here. Yes, Thursdays. Blessings to you guys. And tell your friends. I hope that we get, more conversation going, more education going, more people aware, more awareness. So blessings to you. Have a great week, and I will see you next week.